Good morning, class. Here we go, a new adventure. We're going to do 6.4, example 7. It is based off of the difference of two squares concept. So this is something we've done before. If you need a copy of what I'm working on, if you prefer to work on your own hard copy, I have attached it to Schoology, so you can go there and, if you have a printer, copy it off there. The difference of two squares concept is if you have something that looks like this and you go to multiply it out, you can use any method you want. So that would be x squared minus 4x plus 4x minus 16. Combine your like terms. X squared minus 16. Notice the inside terms cancel out. So that would be one method that we did. Another method was if we took the first term and multiplied it by the second binomial, and then take the second term and multiply it by the second binomial. If you distribute this, you're going to end up with the same 4 factors. Combine like terms, and you end up with the same answer. And the third method that we used for this was the one where we did the box. And then found the area of each of the boxes. Notice I'm ending up with the same 4 terms. Put the middle 2 terms together and I end up with x squared minus 16. You can use any of these three ways to solve or to multiply the difference of two squares. Trying one more example. 2a plus 3, 2a minus 3. I'm going to do the double distribute way with this one. So the first term, the second binomial, plus the second term times the second binomial. Keep in mind this is exactly the same thing as the loop-de-doop-de. Continuing to multiply. That's going to give me 4a squared minus 6a plus 6a minus 9. Combine like terms. Gives me a 4a squared minus 9. So that's the old concept, and we're going to pull off of this concept to work with multiplying radicals. Same concept. Okay, so I'm going to look at the first term and multiply it by the second binomial. Then I'm going to look at the second term and multiply it by the second binomial. So basically, I'm multiplying this times this first of all. So a radical 6 times a radical 6. And then I'm multiplying those two together. So a radical 6 times a negative radical 2. Then I'm going to the second half and I'm multiplying those two together. So radical 2 times a radical 6. And then I'm multiplying the last two terms. So radical 2 times a negative radical 2. So now I have to do the multiplying, keeping in mind what we did earlier in this chapter. So a radical 6 times a radical 6 makes a radical 36, which is just 6. And then a radical 6 times a negative radical 2 would give me a negative radical 12. You can always think, if you want in front of these radicals, you can always put imaginary ones. So that would be like a 1 times a negative 1. That's where the negative came from. Then radical 2 times radical 6 is the radical 12. And then radical 2 times negative radical 2 would be a negative radical 4, which is a negative 2. Notice the middle two terms eliminate each other, so I end up with just 6 minus 2, which is 4. 6 minus 2, which is 4. Final answer. Now, how much work do you have to show? You totally do not have to do anything in red there. I mean, if you can visualize it in your mind, you can just go straight from the problem to the blue to get the answer. One more example. So I'm going to take, and this one, because so many of you like the box method, I'm going to show the box method with this one. The method, again, is up to what you like to do. So that would be a radical 5 plus radical 3, a radical 5 minus a radical 3. So I multiply for the first box, which would be radical 5 times radical 5, which gives me a radical 25, which is 5. Going to the right, a radical 5 times radical 3, which gives me a radical 15. Going down, a radical 5 times a negative radical 3, which gives me a negative radical 15. And the last one would be a radical 3 times a negative radical 3, which gives me a negative radical 9, which is negative 3. Noticing those two eliminate each other, so I end up with just 5 minus 3, which is 2. Final answer. So what I've done is put together an XYZ on examples that just practice this topic. I've also opened up all the old XYZs for the people that needed them, so you can get caught up on some of your past homework. Don't hesitate to message me. We can set up a conference, or we can work somehow through this so that we can all get us through this process right now in a positive way. Thanks. Have a good day.